right, it's your brother Zion Lexx. Sign up for our online academy, which is Learn Torah Hebrew Academy at patreon.com/Learn Torah. There are several classes that we offer. We offer a Biblical Hebrew 101 class for beginners. We have a Biblical Hebrew 102 class for people who are a little bit more advanced. We also have a weekly Torah class. We also have our Patriarchs of the Covenant course, our Matriarchs of the Covenant course, and a bi-weekly rabbinical course. All of these courses can be found on Patreon. Again, that's patreon.com/Learn Torah. You guys are definitely in for it. It's a very invasive class. All of our classes are deeply invasive and very, very meticulous to the T when it comes to understanding the culture, the heritage, and the history of our ancient ancestors. So sign up for Biblical Hebrew at patreon.com/Learn Torah. I am your brother, Zion Lexx.
I want to say this. We have to support each other. We have to support Black businesses. I must say, when it comes to biblical Hebrew and you want to study it, my brother Zion Lexx has classes. He doesn't only teach biblical Hebrew, he teaches Medunetter. Please, you want to learn? Absolutely. Go to him. Let him teach you what he has mastered. It's beautiful to watch him display it.
All right. Shalom, mishpachot. Shalom to everyone, lechulam. I want to say we are in for a very, very powerful and dynamic conversation. I have the honor today of being joined all the way from Africa by way of Israel, Chief Rabbi Pinhas EliYahou Shaday, as well as my brother, Rabbi Mordecai ben Avraham. And I say shalom to you, gentlemen. How are you doing?
Shalom likulam. Shalom, Rabbi Zion. Thank you for receiving us as guests. I'm very happy, and I hope we'll have a pleasant moment. Bezrat Hashem.
Hashem, absolutely. Now, Rav Mordecai, for you, there's no introductions necessary. We know who you are, sir. Your camera will be joining us shortly. We're having a little technical difficulty with his camera. He should be joining us right back. As soon as that is situated, he will just, reintroduce himself to the community. Rav Mordecai, I want to say that there's no introduction necessary for you, but an introduction is necessary. Could you please tell the people about yourself, Rav Mordecai, and then we will hear from our guest of honor, Rabbi Pinhas EliYahou Shaday.
So
can you hear?
Do you ask me this?
Yes.
My audio's. So you wanted me to introduce Rabbi Shaddai?
Yes, please.
Okay, so Rabbi Shaddai is Rabbi Pinhas EliYahou Shaday has been just basically a humongous figure for Jews in general, but specifically Jews of color. Myself, I learned in his yeshiva at B'snai Kadisha in the old city of Jerusalem, and he's evolved and expanded that into the chief rabbinate with a group of rabbis, all of which from African descent. And the goal with the chief rabbinate of Africa is basically to provide access and resources to all the different descendants of Israel that are in Africa. Whether they're people in the east, the Beit of Israel, you have the Limba Jews in the southern and Congo, these places, and then all the way to the west, where you have the Bantus and the Igbos. And so I would just say for myself, a personal testimony is that I have seen Rabbi Shaddai teach the highest levels of Torah here in Israel and Jerusalem. I've seen him do, I don't want to embarrass the Rav, but I've seen him do healing for people. I've seen him do all types of different things, but he's a master in Kabbalah. He's considered a mikubal, not just a rabbi like myself. He's a mikubal, which is a person that's completely immersed into the transformational spiritual aspects of the deepest levels of the Torah, which is the Kabbalah, the Sod, and these different things. So it's just it's an honor to be a part of the Chief Rabbinut, and my role is in North America, and so it's a pleasure of mine just to be able to introduce a person of his level. It's more than a scholar, right? It's more than a scholar. It's more than a rabbi. It's more than a teacher. It's a mikubal, a person who can influence the reality that we live in. And he could speak more about the specific dynamics of what he's trying to do, but it's been an honor, and he changed my perception in my life as an Orthodox Jew, as a religious Jew, as a Torah observant Jew, as a person learning yeshiva. He's expanded me, and the mission that I'm on today is largely to do with my interactions with him.
Baruch Hashem. On that note, we're going to now hear from Rabbi Pinhas EliYahou Shaday. Shalom, Rabbi. It is an honor to finally meet and speak with you.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Zion, for your invitation. The time we always say, I always try to say that it's important for us to understand that Torah, it's all about not only wisdom, but also connection, exchange, discussion, to be able to face not only the one who think like you, but also to be able to exchange with the one who see and have a different perspective, different way to understand spirituality. And in our way to going deeper and deeper in the Torah, we understood that the deeper you go, the more you find African roots, African American roots, I would say. And the purpose was to be able to build our own history inside of that deeper knowledge. Because the less you dig, the more you see differences and separation between what we are as African descent and what can be the Torah. But the more you study, the more you see that it's only one thing. And after the challenge to know what we should do, us as African descendant, now that we have access to all that knowledge, all that understanding, from my corner, the purpose is to be able to succeed where main religions and the main spirituality have failed, meaning in the connection with the other, and also in bringing a real peace, a real shalom in the world. And I think we have the tool for that.
Baruch Hashem. I want to start off my line of questioning with you, Rav, by first asking you to tell us what part of Mother Africa do you hail from, and tell us a little bit about your childhood journey as a young man coming into spirituality and, of course, coming into the Torah. Tell us about where you hail from and the beginnings of your journey of coming into spirituality of the Torah.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I was born in 1981 in Kinshasa, Congo. I grew up there till the age of 8, let's say 9. After, because of the war, we run away to Senegal. I spent 2 years with my mom only. Father and sisters were flew to Europe. After we joined, I stood in France all more than 25 years. And it was for me the possibility to acquire academic level, but also spirituality evolution. So I finished my PhD there in political science. And after, I grew up in a family used to be involved in Christianity. So very early, in my early 20s, I started to be more involved in the church. So I become pastor. I was helping people to be more and more connected to the New Testament. But the more you dig and you try to understand and you try to face the natural question which comes when you're facing your own truth, I felt that I needed to go deeper to have access to the real tools that were at the basis of Christianity. So I started to study more Hebrew and to try to know more about what I was used to call the Old Testament. And that was a massive discovery for me when I found out that we had people who were still living according to the precept and the concept of what I used to call the Old Testament. And for me, it was strange. So I didn't understand that that was possible. And through few events that I've seen, noticed from my personal corner, I'm not telling to people that they have to be like me or to do like me, but from my personal corner, I understood that I didn't have enough tools in my hands to be helpful for people. So I decided to go deeper in that discovery of the Old Testament, which is the Torah. So I sent a letter to the Orthodox community in Paris. I start my conversion after 3 years, 4 years, and massive exam and also mikveh. Finished my process of conversion. Straight away, I went to Israel, married there, find my wife there, and start to study in the, according to my personal corner, one of the biggest yeshiva in Israel, one of the oldest yeshiva of Mekubalim in the whole city. I spent there 5 years of intense discovery and also going back more to my roots. The more I was studying there, the more I was understanding the place of my identity. And I needed to find my own identity in what was my spirituality or my religion. So thank God I find rabbis who were masters of truth and masters of not being interested in what they are giving to you. They told me you have to know that you have to find your place, know what you are. So go deeper. So I went deeper and I found many places where Africa were quoted, Africans were quoted, where Africa was explained. So that spot became priority for me. And after all the smicha program, after receiving my rabbinical ordination, I opened a place of study where we were focused on these topics to give more and more details, more and more informations to the people who had all the same path like me or had the same roots. And we made a tremendous work, and that is the place where I had the chance to meet Rabbi Mordechai, who brought to me all that knowledge about African Americans. You know, from my corner, I was involved. I was inspired by what I was seeing through the TV, radio, music, and so on when I grew up. But I never met African Americans. So I discovered whole histories, whole mindset, and I understood that we had to be able to create gaps. We have to be able to create links, connection, find a way to work together. And Rabbi Mordechai helped me a lot to understand about the reality that the African American faces in their history and the challenges that they were going through. That's why when we finished, we worked a lot. We trained in many rabbis. We gave to rabbis some ordination also. We understood that with all the work we made the last 5 years, we had to do something that can really be a real advance for the African American and African in terms of Judaism. I will say in terms of revealing more their Israeli identity. So we connect all the NGOs and associations and community in Africa and African communities elsewhere, and we decided to make an NGO called the African Jews Federation, and we organize votes and 120 association NGOs were involved in that vote, and they decided to vote for our vision for our committee, and we were elected to the position of chief rabbinate of Africa as chief rabbi and all the committee. And for me, the key was to work with Rabbi Mordechai in order to understand more how we can reconnect that global vision that we had. I will explain more with the reality of African Americans' history and challenges in terms of spirituality. It was in a straight way what I could say.
All right, that's beautiful. You know, Rob, as I'm sitting you and acclimating myself more with who you are, a number of things are coming to mind to ask you and to embrace you with. One of the things that comes to mind is in light of Israel being scattered across the four corners of the world. We've seen many tribes emerge from various parts of the world to say, Ani Yisrael. I'm part of Israel. I'm Israel. Ani Yehuda. I'm a Jew. Right? We've seen people emerge, and this is clearly the fulfillment of prophecy, where we begin to see peoples emerge, just as Hashem says he scattered his people to the four corners of the world. So you should imagine that from the four corners of the globe, all of Israel will be returning. I want to ask you this question. How important, and maybe even essential and core, do you think the return of African Jewry is to the raising up of Israel? Because I frame my question that way, Rabbi, because we've seen so many different communities emerge already. The African community is, in my opinion, the missing link. A lot of people are unaware that there are even African Jews, even though the Torah tells us that there's a historical pattern of whenever there are issues in Israel, where are we fleeing? Into Egypt. And from Egypt, we begin to make our migrations into heartland Africa. So once again, Rabbi, I ask you, how important do you think it is, the African contribution to world Jewry, and us being one of the last to emerge in the eyes of the world?
Your question is so deep and very important. You know, one of the biggest, the founder of Kabbalah, the Arya Kadosh, he said something very deep. He said, you have to know that in Egypt, we have two types of terms used to talk about the Am Israel. Sometimes you see the term Am Israel. Sometimes you see the term Am Bene Israel. He said, you have to know that the Am Israel, they are the one who came down with Yaakov and the family. But the Am Bene Israel, they are the one who were converted from Joseph, and also they were the reincarnations of Adam Arishon lost seeds. And he said that one were tremendous in terms of number, in terms of power. That one was threatening Pharaoh about the fact that they could support some of their enemies. So we understand from that corner that we do have two paths, two ways about what is the identity of Am Israel. And what's happened with the time, we understand that the historical dimension of these two branches will be divided. The Am Bene Israel, who were from Egypt, and they had that Israeli spirituality, we know that they didn't left after the 10th plague. They stood there or they went down. It's written in many books that we open in our yeshiva. So we know that one of the biggest mistake which was made in the last two centuries, let's say, is that the Eastern Europe Israelis, they decided to create the Jew definition. That situation brought 10 tribes and more to be considered like inexistent. But the time and the spirituality bring history to show its face again. So in my opinion, that last level of revelation, meaning the African Israelis or the African descendant, like I said at the beginning, we are the last one who possess the keys in our spirituality to be able to succeed where our brothers were failed. We can see it today. Nobody can appreciate or see wisdom behind the position of some of the Jewish leaders. I'm not criticizing anybody, but I'm just saying that there's no place of admiration. There's no place of seeing the behavior, the way to talk, the way to solve problem shows respectability, high level. So we, as African descendants, as African Americans, as Africans, we have tools that we kept in our education. in our traditions, in our behaviors. That's all for some of the Jews, something that is not natural. We have to admit it. So we are the one who can bring and go to the next gap of the Geula, the final revelation that everybody wants and want to see. It's depending on us. That's why what the work you are doing, what you are doing, it's essential for that level. And they know it. I have many discussions with all the leaders. They know it, but they are afraid because they don't understand the dynamic, the way we connect to spirituality. That's why we have to be the one who have to lead that very specific moment.
Mm. You spoke a voluminous amount of insight and wisdom with what you're saying, and I am overwhelmed with joy to hear the spirit in which you say it and the respect that you showcase. You know, Rabbi, one of the things that is very confused world over about African people in general and African Jewry specifically is our historical contributions to the understanding of what we are calling Elohim, what we are calling Haborei, the creator, what we are calling Adonai, Hashem, right? We have laid from very early in history the foundation upon which lies men's understanding for who we are calling the creator. So us coming into our understanding of who we are today as being part of Israel is very, very important. And as you noted, the timing is essential. We see that as Hashem prophesied, the bones of Israel are being awakened. Just as the prophet Yechezkel says, these dry bones are beginning to live once again. And here we are, as my teacher would say, Rabbi, ready or not, here we come. I want to ask you, the next question I want to ask you is this. In my community, Rabbi Pinhas, there's a lot of confusion about looking into the Torah deeper than the surface level, right? You and I know that the Torah has so much more to offer than what people readily see on the surface. For instance, most people, Rabbi, are reading the Torah, the Tanakh, in English or their native language, not in Hebrew. And you and I know, as well as Rav Mordecai and everyone that knows Ivrit knows, to look at the Torah void of looking at it in its original Hebraic language and context is almost as if you're not even looking at Torah. So the language, people who lack understanding of the language, there's a barrier already. Because if you are not reading the Torah in its original language, there are clearly certain concepts that you're not fully immersing your mind and your spirit in, because as you know, the language is very deep. Now, for those who do know the language, there are still, as Chazal would tell you, many more layers. Like an onion, the Torah is sometimes compared to. As you peel it back, more layers are revealed. Talk to us, Rabbi Pinhas, about Pirkei Avot. 1. Moshe Kibel Torah Misinai. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Thank you very much. I can see that you are a real rabbi because you know your topics and you know your concept. And when we say about Moshe Kibel Torah Misinai, we have to understand that Kibel, lekabel, is to receive. So it means that the Torah was here for ancient time. But many people are confused. They forget one very specific fact is that the Torah that Moshe received on the Sinai is not the Torah we are seeing now performed by the Jew or practiced or kept by the Jew. Why? Because we had the sin of the golden calf in between. So meaning, in the Torah that Moshe received in the Mount Sinai, that Torah was perfect. Why? Because the Chazal, the sages of the of the Torah, they said that Moshe succeeded to bring himself and the people at the level of Adam before the sin, meaning there is no death, there is no robbery, there is no impurity. So the Torah that Moshe received in the Mount Sinai was something else that is not at the level of our understanding if we still see the duality between good and bad, pure and impure, black and white, and so on and so on. So the question is, what is that Torah that Moshe received in the Mount Sinai? That Torah was actually what we call the Mishnah. That's why you have the Pirkei Avot in the Mishnah. So the Mishnah is not the text that Moshe received only. The Mishnah is also the text that was given to Adam.
Mhm.
And we understand that the Mishnah is not a Jewish text. The Mishnah is a text for the humanity. Every single people of the world should have sages commenting the Mishnah according to their tradition and according to the reality of the place they are living. But what's happened today, people don't know or disconsider the fact that the Mishnah is the universal text. And that Mishnah that we have now, which are only 6 order, we have to know that when Moshe received them on the Mount Sinai, from Moshe to Hillel Azaken, to Hillel the Ancient, the Mishnah was with 600 order, 600 tractate. But today we have only 6. So it means that the Judaism of from Moshe to Hillel Azaken has nothing to do with what we see today. And most of the things that we African people have in our traditions are from that place, are from that understanding. The behavior we have toward our parents, the behavior we have in terms of, for example, I saw it in Africa and with Americans community. We like to say, I spoke to God. I talk to him. I talk to God. No Jews speak like that. It's not
None.
something that, not at all. But for us, it's normal. We have that level of relationship. Why? Because we receive something very specific. We have to know that Moshe, before he became the savior of the Bnei Israel, he was king 40 years in the land of Kush.
Mm.
Many people think that Kush is the Sudan. I must correct. One of the biggest commentary of
He went out for a moment. As soon as he
Rashi, one
returned,
of the big
okay. You went out
yeah,
for a moment.
Rashi,
We heard you last when you
yeah,
spoke of Moshe as reigning 40 years as Melech HaKush, the king of Kush.
Melech.
Please continue.
Yes.
Don't let me stop you.
So that position is not a flowery, not fantasy. We do have very serious commentary, tzaddikim like Arya Kadosh, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the author of the Zohar, talking about that specific period of time. He said you have to know that Moshe being 40 years king, it's come from the corner that he was on the land of Kush. But the land on Kush, we have to ask ourselves, where is it? It said like this. Kush is surrounding by the river called the Gihon. If we ask, we think that Kush is Sudan. We go and check geography. We see that in Sudan, the only river you have there is the Nilus. According to Rashi, the Nilus is called Pishon. So if Pishon is in Sudan, Sudan is not the land surrounded by the Gihon. You have to go down and to see that's what we call the Congo River surrounding that massive place that some people can call Congo today, including Central Africa or Angola or Nigeria. You can see the Congo River, which is the real Gihon surrounding.
Mm.
So now what's happened? When Moshe arrived there, he was 17, written in the Midrash Yalkut Shimoni, Parashat Shemot. He was 17 and he found the camp of the king of Kush in the desert. They were coming back from fight. They were out of the city, trying to get inside, and they spent 9 years with them in the desert. And they said that the king and also all the soldiers, they like the young. They say this one is a tzaddik. So what does it mean? If you and me today we walk in the street of New York, of Paris, of Kinshasa, people will not appreciate what we express through our covering our heads, our beard, or anything that we have Magen David. So we will not appreciate what we are doing because they have no connection to Torah. Moshe, that very specific one, spending 9 years with them, they say this one is a wise one. Why? Because they recognize something that they had in their inner life. So Moshe, being king in Kush, it was a way to pass specific things that will be the trace of what we have now as African Americans and African in our culture. That's why we still have tribal chief in Africa. That's why even in America or in Haiti, they have some tradition used to survive when we are under the fire of slavery, under the fire of colonization. We have secrets, we have knowledge that we keep for us. This telling us that Moshe Kibel Torah Sinai, it's been like this. Spirituality stands on two legs. The inner and the hidden legs is the tradition, and the visible and the basic legs will be religion. So if there is religion without tradition, run away. If there is tradition but no religion, you will see colonization will come and change the path of the society. But real spirituality have to have both tradition and religion. That's why we should be more involved by understanding what was the power, the understanding of our ancestors when we were facing slavery. Why did they create that type of codes with breads and so on? What is all these things? This
Mm.
the secret that we have now, we are trying not to bring up by telling people this is not coming, it's not nonsense. It's coming from the whole tradition of the same Moshe who are going to receive the Mishnah in the Mount Sinai, came to our continent, to our country. He spent 40 years and married one of our sisters, the queen of Kush. He married her. He had
Mm.
two wives. And he stood there 40 years, meaning all the understanding of leadership, tribal chief, society, all these things, we receive it also from Moshe. So that's why that Mishnah is the key for us. We have to be masters of Mishnah and to show that our tradition, our cultures, as African Americans, Africans, are totally rooted, explained, and exposed in the Mishnah.
Thank you so very much for saying that, Rabbi Pinhas. There's 2 points that I want to make. The first point that I want to make is you mentioned the Gihon River as spoken in the Torah as surrounding the Congo. Now, why did that spark a responsive chord in my mind? Because modern scholars that are looking for where we call today the cradle of civilization, where does mankind have its origin? The Great Lakes region and the Congo is considered one of the cradles of civilization. You have a cradle of civilization, according to historians, in Sumer, Mesopotamia. You have a cradle of civilization, according to historians, in the Levant, Israel. But there's a cradle of civilization in Africa, in the Great Lakes region, in the Congo. And that's important for us to know because the earliest civilizations in the world, they all rode the banks of rivers. Because today, to get water, you turn on the sink, you have water. It wasn't like that in ancient days. And that's why people of so much lineage and experience they come to appreciate the necessities of life because they had to really work to acquire the necessities of life. So the people that followed these rivers, their ideas followed them as well. And their ideas went to all of the other adjacent bodies of the world. So I am so thankful to hear you describe in a very authoritative and eloquent way that the Gihon River spoken of in the Torah surrounds the Congo in heartland Africa, making there be no doubt that Africa is part of what we're describing when we say Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden. Let's be truthful. So that was very important that you said that. The second thing that came to mind, Rabbi Pinhas, is what we have on the screen.
Yeah.
So what we have on the screen says, hallelujah, Moshe kibel Torah mi Sinai, Sarah li Hushua, we Hushua, li Sechenim, u Sechenim, le Niveim, u Neveim, Mesura, le Anshe Knesset Hagedola. Moshe received the Torah at Sinai and transmitted it to Yehoshua, Yehoshua to the elders to the prophets, and the prophets to Anshe Knesset Hagedola, to the men of the great assembly. Before going into a bit detail about some of the language, Rabbi, I want to just first state some things that might not be obvious to everyone watching. What we're seeing here as detail in Avot is that there is a body of knowledge received on Har Sinai from Moshe, coming from Hashem to Moshe, that he only transmits to Yehoshua, who Yehoshua only transmits to the Zechanim, the elders, and whom they only transmit to the Nevi'im, and whom they only transmit to Anshe Knesset Hagedolah, the men of the great assembly, Ezra, Nehemiah, Mordecai. What's so special? Most people that would read this, Rabbi, would think that we're just talking about the giving of Torah as we know, such as the Taryag Mitzvot, the 613 commandments. Some that are even wiser may understand that the explanations were also given. But I want to say, Rav Pinhas, that we have a word in this sentence that may give us additional insight on what was transmitted. The word is kibel, which, as you know, Rav, happens to be the root of the word Kabbalah. Moshe kibel. Kabbalah means to receive, okay? And Moshe receives a body of knowledge, but unlike the Torah as we know it in terms of the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments, clearly what Avot is talking about cannot be just that, because Israel, Am Yisrael, receives that. But this body of knowledge did not go to all of Israel. If we follow the transmission, this is specifically for the elite of the people, which sets up a question. What body of knowledge, Rabbi Pinhas, would Moshe be transmitting only to Yehoshua, Yehoshua only to the elders only to the prophets only to the men of the great assembly, except that this must be a body of knowledge for the elite, spiritual elite among the people, and not necessarily for the general populace. What are your thoughts on that?
Rabbi Zion, you are bringing a very, very clear insight and very deep concept. This concept is what we call Torat Aleph. The Jews before a few minutes. That Torat Aleph, it's we can talk about.
Take your time, Rabbi.
Take treat.
There's a bit of a lag, Rabbi, in our connection, so take your time. The last thing we heard you say was this is called Torat Aleph. Even if you need to come out of the live stream, Rabbi, and come right back in so that we can hear you? Are you with us now?
Yeah.
Okay. The last thing we heard you say was Torat Aleph. YouTube might not want us going this deep in the ether, but they can't stop it. While Rabbi Pinhas is fixing his the strength of his transmission through his internet, we're gonna take a quick commercial break, everybody. I want everybody to thumb up the video, share the live stream, and family, do not forget to support this platform. We are bringing you some very powerful dialogues. Do not forget to support this platform, everybody. We'll be right back with a quick commercial break where we will hear from Rabbi Pinhas EliYahou once more.
All right. It's your brother Zion Lexx. Sign up for our online academy, which is Learn Torah Hebrew Academy at patreon.com/Learn Torah. There are several classes that we offer. We offer a Biblical Hebrew 101 class for beginners. We have a Biblical Hebrew 102 class for people who are a little bit more advanced. We also have a weekly Torah class. We also have our Patriarchs of the Covenant course, our Matriarchs of the Covenant course, and a bi-weekly rabbinical course. All of these courses can be found on Patreon. Again, that's patreon.com/Learn Torah. You guys were definitely in for it. It's a very invasive class. All of our classes are deeply invasive and very, very meticulous to the T when it comes to understanding the culture, the heritage, and the history of our ancient ancestors. So sign up for Biblical Hebrew at patreon.com/Learn Torah. I am your brother, Zion Lexx.
Okay, so once again, for everyone that's watching, the last question that I asked Rabbi Pinhas was to explain to us, what does it mean in the Mishnah where it says Moshe kibel or received the Torah on Mount Sinai and transmitted it to Joshua, whom Joshua transmits it to the elders. The elders transmit to the prophets transmit it to the men of the great assembly, Ezra, Mordecai, and Nehemiah. And clearly, this transmission indicates that there's a body of knowledge that Moses receives on Mount Sinai that is not for the general populace. The general populace receives the Torah, and they receive the explanations which are taught to them by Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses our teacher. However, there's another body of knowledge.
Can you hear me, Rabbi Zion?
We can hear you clearly, Rabbi. Clearly. Are you there? Take your time. Take your time. We're going to take our time with this live stream. We're not going to allow the internet to stop us. Definitely going to take our time with this live stream. In the meantime, everybody, thumb up. There we go.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear, Rabbi. Loud and clear. Where you last left off was you were answering the question, what do you think was meant in Mishnah and Avot, where it says Moshe kibel Torah mi Sinai, which indicates or alludes to there being a greater body of knowledge that is just for the spiritual elite among the people. And you begin to teach us that this refers to Torat Aleph. So please do continue.
Thank you very much. So the Torat Aleph is exactly what you have said, Rabbi Zion. It's about the elite. We have a concept in the Talmud called Bnei Aliyah, the elites. If I meet today in Jerusalem a random rabbi, and I ask to him, is it possible today to have access to prophecy? Is it possible today to have prophets in the Am Israel? Most of them, they will say no. But we have to know that the elites, the one who have a specific way to understand the Torah, a kind of lineage from Rabbi Nechunya ben Akane, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Rabbi Akiva, Arya Kadosh, and so on, they tell you the Torah you're going to study through Kabbalah, the purpose is to bring you at the level of elites, meaning to acquire not only wisdom, but also prophecy. And for that, we have a path which is totally different of what we see today from the Torah. Because they tell you, first of all, you have to fix all your character traits. If you have one bad character trait, you should even not try to perform one halacha. This is the opposite of what we see today. People tell you, no matter what is your inner state, do the most halacha you can do. They say, no, if you try to do something with bad character traits, you will bring impurity in such places. So basically, the Torat Aleph is what we try to settle and to do with the chief rabbinate of Africa. We say like this: how come today that the Mishnah is not the reference book in terms of laws in the Judaism? The reference book in terms of laws in Judaism is the Shulchan Aruch. But let's be real. The Mishnah was the book studied by all the elites. But when we lost the wisdom and the level of knowledge went very down, they made the Talmud. They say, we're going to help you to understand the Mishnah. The Talmud was written in Jerusalem and after written in Babylon. When the level went down, they said, no, let's help you. We're going to write the Shulchan Aruch. So basically, the Shulchan Aruch, which is now the foundation of the Jewish laws, is the third-class level from the elites. And we say, no. We have to be able to understand what is life from the Mishnah. So from the Mishnah, we will see what is the meaning of the Torat Aleph. Many people say today that you cannot decide the law from the Mishnah. It's because they are missing knowledge. Because to be able to understand the Torat Aleph, which is hidden inside of the Mishnah, you need to have concept of Kabbalah, to know what is the mystical dimension of the Torah, what is the astronomy, what are the planets, what are the different beings there, what is a soul, what is a body, why do I bless something before to eat it, what is the food, what is the purpose of digestion, what are the organs. All this is the highest level. Many people used to say or think that the one who wants to give his knowledge to study the sword, the secret of Torah, is a lazy man. It's wrong. If you want to study the inner Torah, the secret of Torah, I went to the yeshiva with masters. You will be asked to be perfect at every level of Torah. You have to know the laws, the halacha, the Gemara, the Mishnah, the Kabbalah. Not only that, you have to perform fasting. You have to know that you cannot remove some of your bad character traits before being someone who knows how to perform tikkunim. But today, the Judaism we see, they say, no, we are too lazy, we are too slow, we are too weak to fast. They say, no, men are men, let them be the way they be. That's why we are so far from the Mishnah. So that Torat Aleph, it's a way of life. It's to understand that to be the elite, you have to be a model in terms of character traits, in terms of knowledge, not only to think that you have to be close and narrow-minded in your bubble. No, you have to understand astronomy, to understand calendars, how to fix the time, and to understand what was the mindset of the one called the Tanaim. They were the Anshe Knesset Agdola, the people of the Great Assembly, and at that time, Shabbat was based on the moon cycle. That's it. How come from the moon cycle we do not Shabbat on Saturday? What the connection? If we study the books of that time, we say not. New moon Shabbat, half moon Shabbat, full moon Shabbat, new moon Shabbat. This is the first Shabbat of the week. That's it. But all that things, this is for the Torat Aleph. That's why where we are now, we are just saying to people, we are not saying anything that we are better or less than you. We are just saying to the African descendant, to the African American, to the African, that the Torah, that knowledge, that spirituality that we want to give to you because it's your heritage, you have to know that it's a high level of expectation. That's it. It's not something to be lazy, to think about money. No, it's something you have to be very clear between what you are inside of your life and what you show to the people. That's why someone with all that knowledge of Torat Aleph, he could never take a microphone, go in front of the camera and say, we're gonna kill all these rats of Gaza. No, you cannot speak like that, because you're someone of another level. And you can see it, the way the African American, they suffered in America. Do we see the African American burn America and kill all the whites? No.
Nope.
They are trying to build things. We have colonization in our country. We see all the Netherlands, all the German came, took our country. Do we burn them? No. We stay calm, because this is the way we grew up. But that education is not from out of nowhere. It's from the deeper level of the Torat Aleph.
His audio and visual froze again. I believe he's in the state of Israel right now. I believe he's in the state of Israel. We'll clarify that in a couple of moments when he rejoins us.
From what we receive from our. Yeah.
Okay, Rabbi, thank you so very much. You went out for about a good 30 seconds. So
Okay.
if you would like to rewind a bit, that would be great, because we couldn't hear you.
What I say, that sparks of wisdom that we have in our culture, in our education, they are the proof of that Torat Aleph sparks being in what we receive from our ancestors, because we knew that the best way to keep that logicality of going up and to be the elites pass through being a real believer, to have faith, to believe that prophecy is still here, and to show that you have to be a model. People have to admire you when they see the way you behave, thanks to your spirituality.
Thank you so very much. We're going to talk about a number of things today. We're not going to keep you too long. Time is precious and valuable. But what I want to talk to you about now is your creation of the African Siddur. And I think that that's important, as well as what Rav Mordecai told me you created, Nusak Afriki, right? I want to say something to you that has troubled me over the years. I've watched Yehudim, Israelim from African descent, African American descent, Afro-Caribbean descent convert by way of European Jews, whether it be Sephardim or Ashkenazim, and then they take on their minhagim, their customs. They take on their nusachim, right? And they begin to lose the fiber of their own traditions, the way of their fathers, right? My brothers in Igbo land would say they began to lose omenana, right? That connection with culture. And what we saw become an atrocity with Beta Israel, the Ethiopian Jews, when they began to convert and take on Ashkenazic culture, that became horrifying. Many of them today don't even follow Torah as a result. So please talk to us about the importance of retaining our African identity within the culture of Torah, because our journeys through Africa preserved major parts of Torah that we see in our culture. And to not have a connection with that is to never fully connect with Torah. Teach us, Rabbi.
Thank you very much. Your insights are very powerful, because, you know, I spent 12 years in Israel. I was surrounded by Ethiopian people and so on, and I saw what you have just said. The culture, the power of what they had in Ethiopia, they was not dissolved in becoming more this and more that. And one day, when we create the yeshiva, we want to talk more about the African aspects in all the level of Torah. We understood that there's a Talmud, Gemara, Maseret Tamid, Rabbi Akiva. He was asked, how do you write le totafot? You know, what you put in
Yes.
front of your eyes, le totafot. And it's written black on white that Rabbi Akiva sent people to the land of Africa to
Yes.
ask them what is the word used to say bread in the language called Katpi. Katpi, for people who follow it, like Ethiopia. What is the language in Katpi to say bread? They said pat. And from that answer, we don't know how, Rabbi Akiva said, now let us afford, you're going to put two-letter tet. I said, look, rabbis, we have here the pillar of the oral Torah, sending people in Africa asking for advice in before to take any decision. I say,
Rabbi, stop. Rav,
yes,
I'm so sorry because what you're saying is phenomenal. It's heavy, and we have to spend a little more time there for a moment. So I just want to highlight for everyone, right? What Rabbi Pinhas is saying, essentially, everyone, is the Torah uses the word totafot to speak of what we call today phylacteries or tefillin. Tefillin is a later term. You don't find that in the Torah of Moshe. You don't find that there. You find totafot. But Rabbi Akiva and even Rashi speak of what the meaning of totafot is, and more importantly, its point of origin. And they said, and they highlighted that the point of origin is Afriki, Africa, and it comes from the Copti, Ethiopian. That's important. The word the Torah uses to speak of the tefillin is an African word. Nothing, if anything else in the live stream, should speak more volumes to the missing link of the African connection than what you're hearing Rabbi Pinchas say. Rabbi, please continue. I promise I won't interrupt again.
no, don't interrupt me. I like the way you bring points. When we saw that, we say it's logical. If the pillar of the Torah, oral Torah, is sending people to have informations to be able to quote and to finalize a law, it's mean that we do have a tradition in our motherland, mother countries. So from that moment, we said we have to know what is that knowledge. And like you said, it's all about elites. Because let me give you one truth. One day, I was talking with someone from the Knesset, from the Israel Assembly, deputy. He came to meet me and to know more about what we want to do with all these things, talking about Africa and so on. I said, no, what we want to do is first of all to say to the African that they don't have to be ashamed when they want to be connected to the Torah. And after he asked, what is your plan? You want them to come here? I said, no, I want them to, first of all, to have Torah and to have the freedom to decide to come or not. And he said to me, look, we know that this is not the moment. It's not suitable for us. I say, why? He said, because the African American and African, they are too religious for the society we want now in Israel. From that corner, I understood that the Africans and the African Americans, our way to live our faith is like the elites. We don't joke. Once we are in, we put it all in. If there's no hesitation. So from that corner, we said we have to take all the elites points that we will find in the Mishnah, in the Midrash, in the Talmud, in the Kabbalah, that can be performed, and we'll put it in our Siddur to say, this is the model. So we spend years to find, first of all the points which are not kept like at the beginning. For example, the Shema Israel. People don't know, but the real Shema Israel is with 9 words. People say Shema Israel, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Yes, But the Ben Ish Chai, in his commentary of the first Mishnah of Masechet Brachot, he said, no, the first Shema Israel was said by the son of Yaakov to Yaakov, who was afraid maybe that after his death, the kids will forget about the tradition. It says, Shema Israel Avinu ki Hashem Elokenu hu Hashem Echad. Ben Ish Chai said, this is the way the elites, they make the Shema Israel. So in our Siddur, we had to know how to respect some halachot and to go here and there. So we have Shema Israel after specific intention to have, connected to the power of letters, we're going to see one day. And after you say Shema Israel with 9 words, the way to receive Shabbat, the elites, you go in the field, you go at home, and you go in the Bet Knesset, you receive Shabbat 3 times before you go in Shabbat. We put it in the Siddur. So the purpose was to say to the African American and to the Africans, we have our way to live our spirituality. We live it like elites. So all that elements, they are in the Siddur. For sure, we have to have a common tool that is a Siddur. Any Jew, any Israeli have to find some text, but in the way to practice some moment of our spirituality, we have to show that we are elites. And this is it's not to say that we are elites and the other are not. No, we saw it through the history we went through. We survived so many things that if you are not elites in your DNA, you will be wiped out. You will not exist again, but we are still here. And that mindset of Siddur is like, we are not doing anything according to people's tradition. We are bringing our inner understanding from our culture, and when we can make it holy, meaning Kodesh, we put it in. Meaning, some Igbos, for example, they have laws. They said, look, when the woman is in the period time, we don't eat from a food. This is the behavior of elites. But today, in the Jewish, she is in this period, you can eat. But the Igbos, till today, the husband knows, I don't eat the food of my wife. So this halacha, we put it in also one of the book coming next with the laws. So we took all the African tradition, all the African American tradition, which have been kept, and which are the proof of that we are elites, that this make these tools yours. It's your identity, it's your history, it's your life. And we will have more, because I have to learn also from you, from what's happened in the South of America, some tradition that should be maybe included to Pesach. We don't have to be afraid. We have to understand that our history has to be understood from the corner of spirituality in order to make it halacha. This is where the Ethiopian, they failed. They didn't understood that you want to be existing next to the Jew, bring your history to be
At this point, everyone, you do realize and know we're having some connection issues, so we'll allow the rabbi's internet to reconfigure.
Sorry.
That's fine. That's fine.
Today, the Ethiopian, they keep the Rosh Hashanah. Nobody's following what they keep. Why? Because they didn't took time to explain the inner meaning of their fast on Rosh Hashanah, what they are doing. So that's why every single trace of African American history, every single place of African history, we want to explain it from the corner of Kabbalah. And we have the tools for that. And this is the way we will succeed to make the tools being more and more connected to you, to your history, to your ancestor, to your family, and to your daily life. So the Siddur is a first level. We will go deeper the more we will be working with tzaddikim and wise men like you and the other. That's why we call it everybody If I'm Mordechai, you can maybe give some hints for that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Rob
I just
Mordecai, we have you joining us
I
so far. The conversation, as you can hear, it's amazing. Please pick up and join in as well.
Well, the thing is, it's like, Rabbi Pinhas, as you can see, is a jewel for us, and his mastery speaks for itself. And I would say that the prayer book that he's designed and the book of Mishnayot, all the different things he's bringing out to the world is, for us as African Americans, we've never had a clear path to spirituality and God from our ancestry, from an African perspective. And what Rabbi Pinhas is bringing out to us, what he's been teaching, and I would, Rab Zion, I wish you were with us, in the old city when we, learning every day, going through this, talking about how to change the world, how to,
By
affect
the grace and will of Hashem, I'm coming.
Yeah. So the thing, well, you're with us now. We're all the same, right? And so the point is saying that, for us as African Americans, we've never had any presentation. Christianity did what it did for us, but it wasn't our tradition. It was something that was imposed on us. In Islam was something that also was not our tradition. It was something imposed on us. It's not to discredit it. It's not to say it didn't have any value. It didn't help us through difficult times. I'm not saying that.
Right.
But now we're at a point today where we could talk directly to God. And we don't need any intermediaries. We don't need any partners. We are, many of us, okay, I can't speak for everybody, but I'm saying the ones that are invested in the Torah, we're descendants of those tribes that were in the west of Africa that were Israelites. And whether you want to say they're Bantus, Igbos, whatever you want to say, that's who we were. And America has denied us of our history, of our past, of who we are. They systematically erased it. So now we're at a point in the information age where we could go and trace back, whether it's through DNA, whether it's through anthropological work. And so now we're at a point now where we have the Siddur, we have a prayer book, that speaks to us and our origins, where we don't have any influences. We love everybody. We love the Edomites, in Europe with their Christianity. We love them. We love the Ishmaelim with their traditions. We love everybody. But us as African Americans, okay, who are connected to the minority in Africa of these tribes, okay, that were descendants of Israel, we now have a way of study. We have a way of connecting to God, and this is part of the redemption. And anybody who's listening to this that's Jewish, that's from the Jewish community, say, oh, well, we don't proselytize and this type of things. This is not proselytizing. We're not proselytizing. We're talking to people who are descendants of the tribes in Africa that were brought to America and were systematically robbed of their history, of who they are and what their heritage is. And any black Jew that you see is no different than the Hebrew Israelite or anyone. It's just a matter of the teachers that we met, right? We just met different teachers. So we have to accept that now is the time for the redemption for all of humanity. All the tribes of Judaism, the Ashkenaz, the Sephardim, Mizrahim, Yemenites, everybody, and all the other tribes, people in India, people in China and Asia. It's time for everyone to rise and connect to the God of Israel. And so Rabbi Shaddai is for my opinion, okay, I'm speaking for myself. He's our redeemer of that, right? He's the one who's bringing us back to that fold. He's bringing us back in that conversation, and he's giving us tools through his hard work, right? There's nobody funding him, right? There's no organization giving him money. This is what he and his family has decided to do. I learned with him in the old city. My friend, Rabbi Zohar Mars, he brought me into that. I know Zohar almost several years before that. Everything is being done by the sweat and the toil of Rabbi Shaddai. There's no secret agenda. This is him, okay? And it's him taking his knowledge and his things, and that's important to know that this is an authentic experience, and we're all a part of it, and it's time for us to reclaim our relationship with God directly. And I end there.
Thank you for that. Just before we rejoin Rav Pinhas, I want to say one more thing. The creation of Nusak Afriki, which Rabbi Pinhas is going to give us more insight on first. Where do we get it? What are its contents? And that will come in a couple of moments. But just before we ask Rabbi Pinhas to go there, I have another thing that's on my mind that I'm sure is either in your thinking already, or maybe even without my knowledge, already processing. So here is what I'm thinking. Ashkenazic Yehudim, Sephardic Yehudim, when they open up the Tanakh, of course their commentaries include Chazal. Of course their commentaries will include the sages of old, but in some of the newer revised commentaries to the Tanakh, you'll also see modern European Jewry, right? You'll see rabbis from the 18th, 19th, 20th, and even now the 21st centuries. So here is something that is very pressing on my mind. Because here we are today, African Jewry. And we are already translating the tradition, translating the text in our life and in our minds and in our souls. Our next step, even in the midst of us creating Nusak Afriki, what we also need is the African translation of the Tanakh, which also includes Chazal's commentary, the sages of blessed memory, but will also include modern thinking among African Jewry, because that's important. You know, Rabbi Pinhas and Rabbi Avraham Mordechai, a teacher said to me once, he performed a test, an example for the class, a learning example. I said, what did you do? He said, well, on the first day of class for high school, I walked in and I wrote the name of every student on the board. And when I got to the last name, I erased them immediately. And then I asked the children, within seconds of me erasing all of the names, what names did you see on the board? All of the white children were able to record not just their names, but many of the names of other children. Many of the Indian kids were able to record their names and many other names. The African kids that people call today the black children, they were barely able to record one or two names. And all of the students that were non-black started to laugh. And the teacher said, no, that was a test to show everyone something. You know, when you're not included in the curriculum, you tend to not see yourself in the picture. And when you don't see yourself in the picture, it becomes harder to concentrate. It becomes harder to learn. The European kids didn't possess a greater skill set or brain capacity than the black children. Because they saw their name on the board, they were able to record more and to remember more. The Indian children, because they saw their name on the board, they were able to remember more and to record more. Black children around the world who are under the learning system of the West typically are not represented in the curriculum. And because of that fact, many of them lose interest. Rabbi Pinhas EliYahou, I say to you with the utmost spirit of humility and tranquility, that we need the African version of the Tanakh. Not a change in the text, because far be it, we cannot alter the words of Moshe. That's not what we're saying. And surely it will include the commentary of Chazal, like all of the Tanakhs do. But just as modern Jewry has added their modern scholars and their modern thinking in the footnotes, we need the African Tanakh from the African perspective, and we need to see in the footnotes Rabbi Pinhas EliYahou Shaday. We need to see in the footnotes Rabbi Mordechai ben Avraham. We may even need to see in the footnotes Rav Avdiel ben Levi, also known as Zion Lexx. What are your thoughts, Rabbi?
Thank you very much. Really appreciate the quality of your wisdom, because you are putting always the points where it should be made. You know, for me, this is the objective. But there is two challenges when we try to make this happen. The first one is the time. For example, what the part of the commentary of the Talmud we call Tosfot.
Yeah.
It's a family business. With all the respect, it's Rashi and his grandsons. They brought a way to understand the text according to the reality of the Jew in the Central Europe and Eastern Europe. So when you are able to make something like that, time is your bigger enemy. Why? Because the purpose is to be able to say something that will be kept in 2000 years, and not to say something that will be misunderstood and will create something wrong 10 years after. Do we have tools to make this happen? Yes. But the thing is that we need to be one.
Okay.
We need to work together.
Okay.
We need to share our strength. The tools that I had that can help us to be able to put a commentary which cannot be contested at all. I was lucky to learn it in the very inner circle in Israel, and I want to pass it. This is honesty, because to put your name at that place, it should be for the best of everybody, even the one who are not like you.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
I used Rashi to confirm that the land of Kush, it's Congo. So
That's
if I
right.
didn't have the Rashi, I couldn't use it.
That's right.
So this has demand that we have to be at a certain level of elite in terms of character traits, in terms of purity, in terms of holiness, in terms of even Ruach HaKodesh. All these things, is it available? Yes. Do we have to go there? Yes. Do we have to make it happen now? Yes. So from my perspective, this should be a challenge given to every single African American or African to say, when are you putting your commentary on? But because we will be real, we will know that we have to be at the level.
Ken.
From that perspective, I'm with you 1000%. The
Yes.
tools, we have it. For sure, it's not tools you put on the table in front of everybody, but we need to be one. We need to work together to join our forces. And I do appreciate a lot that strength that you can see in the Hebrew Israelite community, because there's no fear about going straight away in terms of getting information and trying to understand what it is from our own perspective. But now, maybe the time has come that we have to join our forces in order to make solid foundation that will never be removed at all. Why, for example, we have people, some people telling us, no, the Africa you have in the Talmud, it's not Africa. Let's say, maybe. But you cannot contest history. We have another Talmud telling us that Alexander the Great decided to go to the African campaign in Africa. So sorry, do we see, if you ask to that people, so tell me, where's Africa? They say, no, it's nearby the country of Georgia, not far from Russia. Okay. Do you have any proof that Alexander the Great made the whole campaign of exploration in that area? No. We know that he went down to the lands of Africa. What did he find there? It's written like this. He went down in Africa. Arrived at the place, he had some dry fish. He said, let me clean them a bit in order to eat. He started to clean with the water he had in front of him. The fish came back to life. No, the fish started to smell very strong. He said, what is that water? And he said, he found there the entrance door of the Gan Eden. Meaning, do we have a specific way to understand Torah? Yes. Do we have a knowledge that can have to be given to the world? Yes. But we have to respect two rules. The first challenge, the time, like I said, the second one is to be able to show that what we are saying was already said also. This is the two challenges that we have to face: the time, and both of them have time, and the fact that what we are bringing, we can bring you books from 1,000 years before even you became a religion that confirm what we are saying. And we have all the books. We have all the information. And I can tell you, Chief Rabbi Mordechai can tell you, we some people say, you see black everywhere. Yes, because once you get the codes, you can make a new way, not a new way to understand, a deeper way to understand, which is meaningful for you. So I agree with you. We have to go there, but I think the challenge is, when do we start to work together?
When do we start to work together? Thank you, Rabbi Pinhas. Again, this has been so honorable. We're going to bring this to a close in the next couple of moments as you begin to explain more about the Siddur for us in African Jewry, Nusak Afriki, and where and when we can get it and when it's available, right? But before I do that with you, I just want to say that rarely do I have the opportunity, to tell my brother in the sight of my other brothers and my sisters that I love my brother. Rabbi Pinhas EliYahou, I love you.
Thank you. Me too.
I say I love you from the spirit of Torah when I say that. And I say that because when you're in the presence of someone that is genuinely for Hashem and his people, not just by the sound of their words, but the conviction in their soul, the allegiance of Hashem. You almost can smell it. And before you leave the live stream, I have to tell you that, from your brother to you, I love you. I love you, my brother. And I want you to continue to do the work that you are doing. And I adjure our community to fully embrace you in the work that you are doing. The next thing that I want to say is, excuse me, my voice is starting to crack because I'm really having an emotional moment. And people who know me, they don't see me like this. But, I also want to say to you that, yes, we must continue to work together to change not only the narrative, but our souls so that we can be on the same page. A fellow asked me in the Israelite community a couple of years ago, and he said, Avdiel, which is my Hebrew name. Everybody knows me as Zion, but my Hebrew name is Avdiel ben Levi, right? He asked me, he said, Avdiel, when do we get our own traditions, and when do we form our own Beit Din? And I said, well, we have our own traditions already. The sages already outlined them, and we know that it came directly from Hashem through Moshe. We know it. We can trace it. He goes, great. So when are we going to create our own Beit Din here in New York City? And the rest of America, and then the rest of the African diaspora? And I said to him, well, therein lies a problem. Because how do we form a Beit Din among African Jewry here in America, the Caribbean, and throughout the African diaspora when we haven't even agreed fundamentally on exactly what Torah is? Many in our community just see the Torah as the written text. As a result, they never make themselves available to what our ancestors left on record. As a result, we are many, many generations, as you said, from Torat Aleph, from the original Torah of Adam Harishon, right? Adam, the first man. So how are we today to think in our minds that we can interpret the Torah with just 100 years of knowing ourselves in this country and not even making ourselves available to the tradition of our ancestors who, as the Mishnah is being compiled, and we know that it's redacted by Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi in the 2nd century Common Era, but the tradition goes back long before him, right? And the compilation begins before him. He is the redactor of the Mishnah. So its compilation begins even before him. Elders began to assemble what we call today the Mishnah. What I find very important to highlight then, Rabbi Pinhas, is before we can think that we can perform such a task as bringing our own Tanakh that doesn't deviate not a single word, not a single letter from what Moshe was given and what Chazal laid, but should also include the modern commentaries of rabbis as yourself, Mordechai, maybe even myself. Before we can get there, I agree with you. We have to be one. Because imagine one Israelite says, well, when you go to translate law number 610, my teacher says it means this. Another Israelite teacher says, well, my teacher says law 347 means this. So how can we perform the task of translating this from our perspective if we are not first united in how we see Torah, which means we have to come into full acceptance of what is Torah and the practice thereof. And that is essentially what you were saying. The next thing that I wanted to highlight and say in your hearing is this. In Sanhedrin 108b, there are many in the Israelite community here in America that have seen or heard that the Talmud makes disparaging remarks about people of color. It says, Ham's skin was turned black. Now, me as someone that reads the Gemara, I know for a fact, nowhere does it say Ham's skin was turned black. I know the original doesn't say that. So while we have the opportunity, the space, and the time, we're going to look at the original. It says here, the sages taught 3 violated that directive and engaged in intercourse while in the Teva, while in the ark. And all of them were punished for doing so. They are the dog, the raven, and Ham, son of Noah. The dog was punished in that it is bound. The raven was punished in that it spits. And Ham was afflicted in his skin, that his skin turned black. But I know something, Rav Pinhas, that you know, that Rav Mordecai knows, but many in the Israelite community do not know. You see, the bold black in English represents what the sages wrote above. And what we see faintly outlined in English is not accounted in the Hebrew above. Or in other words, when you look at the text in Hebrew, the very last line says, Ham lecha be'oro. Ham was afflicted in his skin. Nowhere does the sages write that Ham was afflicted in his skin and his skin turned black. That was a later edition by someone that had the view that if he had a skin affliction and it's cursed, then that must mean his skin must have turned black. But as you know, Rabbi Pinhas, we can't find in the Torah where someone's skin is cursed and it turns black. That doesn't exist. So someone later had the idea that skin being cursed turns black. But what I want to be clear on is Chazal does not say that. They said Ham was afflicted in his skin, and they put what we would call today a period after that. The thought stopped. But someone later on had the idea that if his skin is afflicted, it must have turned black. But we know that is not what is originally recorded. I say that to say, Rav Pinhas, this is why our contribution is so important, because without us coming to add this, then the lie continues. Your thoughts?
Thank you very, very, very much, because your work is amazing, and thank you for your very kind and sweet words you said before. Now, just want to add to say something. You know, sometimes African American they don't know the love we African have for you, because many times people used to think that Africans sold their brothers because of money and so on. But just the clarification to show the love, the deep love we have for you, our brothers from the other side of the ocean. People have to know that the time of slavery was made by Black Arabs. If you know really the history, it wasn't Africans who, has the shalom, God forbid, said their brother. It's a whole situation. We never forget about our brothers. We never forget about you. And you should never have any doubt about how important you are for us. Because for us today, you are the models. You succeed to become powerful in the place you arrive like slaves. And we, by staying where we are now, we even don't succeed to take control of our own country. And we still look at you like we are brothers. Let's be together. Let's work together. And the kind word you said to me went straight to my heart. And I said to you again, from me, I have to learn from everybody. L'école melamdai iskalti. I've learned from all the one who taught me. So when I hear you, I receive many, many, many wisdom, many teachings today. So thank you for that. And you will always have my support in what you are doing, because the spirituality, the Israelite spirituality, will have at least 12 ways to be understood, to be lived. And we have to have that the audacity to accept the difference when you have difference. So the love you have for me, I have the same for you. And I know that this is the challenge we will have to go through. And about Ham, you said it. We have to push our brothers and sisters to be more in the study. We have to be masters of all the books. We should never consider a book like being anti us. No. Even if it's anti us, it's for us a way to understand the mindset of the one who hates us. We have to know that the mastering of books and the mastering of writings is the key for us to handle properly our future, and not to consider that we can do a lot with the less that we know, which is at the end not something bad, because I know African Americans, I know Africans, they will tell you, with one page, I can understand what you understand with 10 books. Yes, I know we can do it. But at the end, if we have access to 100 books, let's read them. Let's share our works and to have access to every single thing which are written. What's happened now is that we have one open space that we should, according to my humble place, that we should embrace. Today, there is an empty space. What is that empty space? No Jew, no Israelite, let's say in a general term, want to take the place of the one who are mastering the inner dimension, the hidden dimension, the mystical dimension of the Torah, and to make it daily life. The one who try to do it are the Lubavitch, the Chabad. But according to what I know, it's even not at the level where we are. They do it from the corner of Chassidut. Chassidut is not Kabbalah. Chassidut, like I say, with all the respect I have for them, Chassidut is a coolish way to live Kabbalah.
Okay.
Because they will not fast, they have nothing. We have to understand, to accept that we are the masters of spirituality. We know it. We have crazy stories. Only us. So let's take that position. And from that position, we'll have many opportunity. The first one is to go fast. What does it mean? If we want to be able to have our own Bet Din tomorrow in New York, in Kinshasa, in Cape Town, we have to know that we can train rabbis. We can train dayanim, judges. When we use the tools of secret Torah, it's a different way. You can go not faster. You can make it happen faster with more intensity. So the challenge is that, yes, once our brother will understand how important is Kabbalah, like you said from the beginning, Moshe Kibel Torah Missionai, not Kabbalah of just studying mystical, not Kabbalah with being impact in your daily life. We will see that we will be able to have rabbis, to have teachers, to have prophets, to have Dayanim. This is what structure a whole Jewish society or all Israeli society. And I think that this way is the only way we will be able to establish solid foundation that will not be considered like attacked by other communities, because no one is there. No one is taking that place. No one is thinking that Kabbalah can be a daily life. We are born inside of that, but for sure, we have to be structured. And I'm pretty sure that, in based what you have said, tomorrow we'll be able to perform conversion for the one want to convert, to make dayanim, to have many things and all the tools. Believe me, without any arrogancy, we have the tools. We have the books. We went deep and we get all of them. And I'm really very sure that many information will be shared to you, and you will see that we can make it happen.
You know, on the point of conversion, I have to say this. There are people in my community that really don't understand what conversion is from the point of Torah. Many in my community do not like the idea of us as African Jews having to convert to what we believe we already are. Many of the people in my community see it as a disrespectful thing that we should convert to what we already know we are, which tells me we're missing out on the Torah's definition of conversion. In Tehillim 19, Melech Dawid, King David says, the Torah is perfect, converting the soul. And I asked myself a question. If a person has had a great divide and disconnect with Torah for most of their life, for many generations, why would they not think that they would have to undergo a conversion process in order to be perfectly and fully brought back in that beautiful space? Conversion is not about the identity marker that Ani Yehudi, Ani Israeli, I'm a Jew, I'm an Israelite. That's not conversion. Conversion is about neshama, the soul. And for many generations, our people in Africa, our people that were brought on in chains to America, the Caribbean, South America, everywhere in the world, we have been without this sacred Torah. On that note, conversion is a must. Conversion of soul. But you know what I'm going to say? We live in a day today, Rabbi Pinhas, where maybe our people don't have to feel that they're going to someone else, because here are people like you. Here are people like Rav Mordecai. Here are people that we can look at, we can see, and we can connect with, that makes us a little bit more apt to even go into the process. For instance, and I'm just going to be honest, I'm very blunt. Many European Yehudim would probably not go under conversion if they saw a black rabbi. Because the reality is, racism exists even within what we call the Jewish society. This is a fact. So we know that many of them would take issue with, oh, I'm converting and Rabbi Pinchas is the rabbi I have to come to. No, I'm not doing that. So that is the dilemma that stops many of our people from even wanting to go there. And so what they do, what happens as a result, is they miss out on such an important, necessary, unavoidable process. We have to come into conversion. But conversion is not about just the identity. It's about the soul and the soul's separation from Hashem and bringing us back to him. But I will say, for many of us, as it would be for many Europeans, it would be easier if we saw someone that looked like us.
Rabbi Avdiel, you are amazing. Amazing because you are bringing answers that for many rabbis today in the modern Jewish society demands a lot of years of deeper Torah to get what you have said. Rabbi Nehunya was the head of the Tanaim after the Great Assembly. He said, you have to know that the convert is higher than the born Jew. He said, why? He said, because he has no impurity in his soul.
Amen.
Arya Kadosh is going deeper. He said, you have to know that every single night you have to go up to study with God at midnight, Chatzot. At that moment, he said, when your soul come back, don't take it. Ask for a converted soul. Nefesh Ger. So what does it mean? Like you said, people who turn their back, give their back to the inner Torah, to Kabbalah, they use conversion like a discrimination weapon to show to this one and that one that they are a second or third class Israeli or Yehudi. But the truth is, they don't know what is written in the deeper and higher book of our spirituality. It's the opposite. That's one of the biggest discussion I have with my brothers, big boys. I say to them, look, don't fall in the trap of the one who misunderstanding the deeper aspect of our Torah. Because through conversion, you will acquire strength that will help you to be smooth in the Torat Aleph. Because that Torat Aleph will demand a lot from your soul, from your body, from your time. And you cannot afford it if you go with, let's say, the bag of situation you brought from your past. If sometime you eat non-kosher food, if you came with some character traits, if you made some mistakes, all these things we need to clean it, to clear it, because we want your soul to perform at 1000%, to be able to acquire Ruach HaKodesh, even prophecy. Let's go. But if you don't clean it, you will not be able. So what is that process of giving to the soul the whole possibility to use his power? It's what we call, it's not conversion, it's Le'it Gayer. What is Le'it Gayer? Is to give the dimension of Ger, Gimel Resh, to the soul. What is Gimel Resh to the soul? It's Gimel Resh, it's Gimel Rishonot, the three first. What are the three first? Chochmah Bina Dat. Many Jews we see, they are Jews, but the three level of when the brain is working perfectly in terms of spirituality are not there. It's empty vessels. So from the corner of that, I say to people, because I know the secret behind the terms of Le'it Gayer, I'm telling you, you need that strength. And that strength go through specific aspect. And I'm not even interested to give it to people who will not know what to do with that. Of course, I'm not rejecting them, but I know the power of Bene Cham. I know the power of Bene Moshe. What is Cham? C'est Rabbi Nehunya, c'est Cham. Don't see only the color. It's a Cham, they are the 48 strength forces hidden behind each letters of the Hebrew alphabet.
Okay.
That's it. We have that power. So from the corner of not going everywhere, I agree with my brothers. I know what are the type of look I received and I was in my process. I know even how I felt when I entered the first time in the Bet Knesset of other communities. I know all this. I know how I had to fight for my kids when they were insulting in the street. I know all this. But this will not prevent me to use the best tools and the best strength for me and my brothers. Because we know the inner definition. And we should not be punished 2 times by being rejected by the other and not using the tool that we can have. We don't need to tell to anybody. You just come, okay, we know the tools to make. We know how to activate this. This is what we call the atafat dam. You have to bring up that drop of blood from certain place for the man. Woman is another thing. And there's a specific text to do. And you awake your soul. That's it. There's no one who will tell you that you are not. No. It's to give to all of our brothers and sisters the power to perform Torah at the level of edit. Rabbi Mordechai, you want to add something maybe?
Yeah, I mean, it's, for me, when Bob is speaking, I want to listen just like everyone else. But I would say that, our challenge, in North America is to be able to utilize, as the Bob says, the Torat Aleph, to be able to re-understand our entire history in North America. We have to re-understand why the experience of being slaves, being on a plantation, being through segregation, going through this whole experience. All of this is God's will, and it's a bracha, right? It's all the development of creating people, as the Rab are saying, that have the capacity to reach the level of B'nai Aliyah, right? The highest level. So the whole experience, everything we went to, the people in Africa, the whole experience of colonization, the whole thing was preparing us, not exclusively. We have our brothers who are in Europe. We have our brothers who are in Spain. We have our brothers who are in the Middle East. We have our brothers who are in other places that also went through this experience. And so we use the eyes of Esau. We will see that, oh, wow, we came from these tragic environments. We were victims. And so God has been preparing us at this moment to be able to receive this Torah of Aleph and to be able to bring the full redemption for humanity. And so, as Rob was saying, we need this aspect of unity, not just unity amongst us as African Americans or us with Africans in African Americans. We're saying all of Am Israel, okay? All of Am Israel. It doesn't work. It doesn't work unless we bring everybody. But if we don't know who we are, we can't participate. And we can't help the other. So that's where our focus is at right now. But it's not to exclude anyone else. It's not to exclude anyone else's importance or anyone else's value. But we have to work through who we are, and we have to change the trauma that we experience into bracha, into holiness. And that's what the Rabbis is bringing to us. So we have tools. We have tools. We're starting with our prayer book. We have Nusak Afriki, where we can identify our African heritage with the goal of bringing the full redemption for humanity, right? Because that's our goal right now. And I think, Rabbi Zion, for just creating this platform and showing our, this is my rabbi, showing him the love and respect. And this is just the beginning of a bigger relationship, because we're all in this together. And we have to bring people in. And I would just say this one point in closing. When we talk about the idea of conversion, the idea in the Torah, it says gerut and ger, right? So a person who's a ger becomes a stranger to the ways of the world, to the structure of the world, all the promises of the world. If you go to college and you get this degree, you're going to be happy. If you make this amount of money, you're going to be happy. If you have this type of status, you're going to be happy. If you're better, if you're out competing the next person, you're going to be happy. We're leaving that whole reality behind. And we're going into the level of mitzvot, which is our connection to God. So this idea where we're at right now is to be able to transform our thinking, and say the only fulfillment that my soul can receive is through the Torah, right? And so when we talk about the idea of conversion, doing a proper circumcision, making an oath, we call it bracha, going into the mikvah, and coming out and living the life. Because Rob is talking about character traits, behavior, how we treat each other, how we treat neighbors, how we treat our bodies, how we treat our fellow men. This new beginning for us, because the white society turned us into animals. Okay, and they turned us into animals where we went and we kill and we murder and we humans are women like nothing. So we're talking about transforming that. It's not abandoning. When the Jews, before they left Mitzrayim, they had to do circumcisions before they had Pesach. Some of the Arab that joined the Jewish people had to do circumcisions before Har Sinai. They had to do circumcisions again when they went into Eretz Israel. So we're not talking about losing your identity. We're talking about affirming where you're at this point in history to be able to receive God's light. So I just wanted to thank, just everybody, just in this and listening. This is not proselytizing. These African Americans that are in America are descendants of these tribes from Israel that were in Africa, in the diaspora, that came to North America, and their history was removed from it. This is not proselytizing. This is no different than the European Jews that lost their ways, no different than the Spanish Jews that were kicked out by Queen Isabella and lost their ways. It's no different from the Mizrahi Jews who were converted to Islam and came back to their Jewish culture. It's no different. And so this is about bringing the full redemption to humanity by bringing all of the lost tribes, all of the lost souls that are connected to Israel back.
That's right. That's right. As we ask Rabbi Pinhas to just tell us how do we get the Siddur, or when will it be available, or maybe even show us what it looks like, there's just one last thing I want to say. And I'm saying this to our community here in America, in the Caribbean, and all parts of our African diaspora. We all glory in the idea that the Creator chose Israel. And we say that we are the chosen ones. And we're very proud to declare that we are Bechori, the chosen of Hashem, right? Even his firstborn. But what I like to also think about is what it means to be the chosen of Hashem, the chosen of the Creator. He chose us to bring all of humanity back in the fold, to return unto him. We would be, in many ways, like the Mashiach, a light to the nations. Our goal as Am Israel, as the children, Bnei Yisrael, is to be a light to the nations. I heard somewhere that we use light to see, similar to the word Torah. Some sages argue that the word Torah is rooted in the word Orah, light, right? And I know we use light to see. So maybe it is that the knowledge application of Torah causes us to see and be aware of God in the world. That's what Torah is here for. And it prepares our soul for that meeting with Hashem, with the Creator. And that's a beautiful thing, right? Even the plural of the word light, Orah, tells you something about the Torah. Because the term Orot in Hebrew, the plural of Orah, has a numerical value of 613. So surely when we speak of Orah, light, and Orot, lights, we're talking of Torah, which we use to see the Creator. But the Creator didn't just choose us to raise ourselves up. He chose us to lift up all of humanity. So I have something to say that is going to be controversial for my community, but it's in my heart to say it anyway. We cannot expect that in returning to the Creator in this final redemption, that we will be alone. We must remember that it is recorded in the Tanakh that we have been scattered to the four corners of the world, and from there he will gather us, which I want everyone to just think about something. Because shouldn't you know and understand that that means there are going to be Israelites that raise from all parts of the world with very different looks. Some of them are going to look like you and I. Some of them are going to look like they and them. But we were all Israel. Israel goes into Galut and in exile, and she loses parts of her culture. She loses even parts of her identity at times, where people don't even know that they were from the seed or children of Israel. But what we must know and understand is that on the return, do not think that everybody will look like Rabbi Pinhas. Do not think that everybody will look like Avdiel ben Lewi, me. expect that people will look like the four corners of the world where Israel has been scattered. You know, if you ask a scientist to tell you about a person genealogically, a scientist is not looking at color, because DNA shows that people can have completely different phenotypes, facial features, skin color, and be genetically the same people. We have to understand that on the comeback, we will be looking very, very different. There are going to be Israelites that represent all four corners of the globe. But I did hear somewhere that the last shall be first. I did hear somewhere that the first shall be last. So as I have said, and as we have alluded to, we are in more ways than one. Our community is African Jewry, that missing link that will more than likely be very integral towards bringing out this final redemption. On that note, Rabbi Pinhas, please tell us how we can find the African Nusaki.
Rob Zion, I just sent you a link on your email and also WhatsApp app for the Siddur for Nusach African from Rabbi Shaddai. You have both of those links. So I don't know how we share it with your audience or how we should do it, but you have the link to it. It's available on Amazon. Okay, so that's the key point.
Okay, I see it now. I'm going to pull it up. And we'll share it live. Just waiting for my screen to share. And here we go. I'll have Rabbi Pinhas introduce it as soon as we can see it on the screen. And before that even happens, I'm so sorry, everybody. Rabbi Pinhas, oh man, my jaw is dropped. As I'm looking at the name of the Siddur, I can only think of Marzutra, to where were the 10 tribes exiled? And he says, Afriki. And one rabbi says, from beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. And one rabbi says, at the river Sambation. Mm-hmm. Wow. Rabbi Pinhas, please do share with us. I'm blown away right now.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Avdiel. It's the Siddur. I'm not in my office now. That's why the network was shaking a bit. But the Siddur is available on Amazon. The purpose was from the beginning to do things that are meaningful for our community all over the world. Meaning from the title of the Siddur, from the legacy that we are representing, because the Bnei Moshe, it's a whole secret about the one who are the elites and kept the mindset of Torat Aleph, even from the bad situation they went through. And the purpose, like we will say, we'll have more and more communication. Basically, you are the first one with who we communicate, because it was a whole work for the last month. And for me, it's a real pleasure to bring that information in front of someone knowledgeable like you and have wisdom and to understand the codes that are behind. And the purpose is basically to say to everybody, this is not the first edition of the Siddur. We'll be happy to spend hours of study with Rabbi Avdiel Zion that can give to me some details and telling me maybe in the Seder of Pesach, we can introduce that aspect that is very meaningful for the African American. And we will be dropping the second edition. And the purpose is to make a tool that keep the Israelites united, but at the same time empower all the dimension of being African American or being African. Sambation is basically that river that separates the visible world from the invisible world. Like you said very clearly that the one will be the first will be the last and the last will be the first. This is the mindset of what we call Sambation. All the sages of the Jewish mindset, of Israeli mindset, they know that the that place, it's where the Bnei Moshe, the elites, they are dwelling, they are sitting, they are staying there, meaning keeping the path between passing from one word to the other word. Even the angel, they have to go through the Na'ar Sambation, through the river of Sambation, to dip themselves before going down on earth or going back to Shamayim. So the Siddur is full of essential halachot. There are many. I will send one to Rabbi Avdiel. When he gonna receive it, he will take his time to open, to go to study, and it will be more meaningful also for our audience to know more about what is inside. But it's more than 600 pages. We have the morning blessing, we have the Kachma, we have the Amidot, we have the Shabbat prayers, we have the Hagim prayers, we have the festival prayers, we have the Rosh Chodesh, Rosh Hashanah, we have Pesach, we have the Pirkei Avot that we put inside, because this is basically for us a must when we want to go towards the Torat Aleph. And also we did something very unique. We put inside the Sefer Abayir. We are the first Siddur putting the Sefer Abayir, the Book of Splendors, because the Book of Splendors talks about the higher light, the upper light. What is that upper light? So Rabbi Nechonia, he said it's the black light. And explain everything about the black code. What is that code means in the language of our sage? What is black means? How it's happened, how it will be developed, where we can see it, where we can happen. For me, every single African American should know about this book, the Book of Splendor of Rabbi Nechonia ben Akane, the master of Rabbi Akiva, who spent 200 let's say small chapter to talk about the 200 aspect of what we call the black light, that sometimes can be associated to melanin, and sometimes it will be connected to the spiritual dimension, sometimes it will be connected to the letters of the Torah, and we put it also inside. We translate all the Siddur in English, page by page, but some text, it's better not to translate, to push our brother to acquire the language and to move forward. Thank you very much for your time.
That's right. Thank you, Rav EliYahou Pinhas Shaday. I mean, this has been an amazing dialogue, an amazing connection. Clearly, we're going to have many more where we can, open up the Siddur and talk about a specific portion, and maybe even show people the order of prayer, tefillah. This is very, very important. I'm going to say that I have an academy which is called Learn Torah Hebrew Academy. This Siddur is going to be the official Siddur for our academy, and it's going to be mandatory for all members of Learn Torah Hebrew Academy to have. I'm going to post it on our website. I'm going to also keep it posted on our YouTube channel for all of our YouTube live streams. I'm going to make a commercial out of it so that every live stream that we do, people get to hear about the existence of this and where to find it. Every single live stream that we do, everybody will know about this Siddur. I thank you from the deepest part of my heart for coming here and connecting. We are very close in age. My birthday is the 17th of Cheshvan, 5740. Right? November 7th, 1979. Right? I have an interesting story for you.
Yeah.
So coming up when I was younger, we didn't always write November 7th, 1979 for our birthday. We would write the month by number, the day by number, the year by number. So 11/7/79.
Yeah.
My Hebrew name is Avdiel. Right? Avdiel, servant of El, servant of God, right? And when I picked this name, Rabbi, in 1994, I didn't know that Hebrew letters were also numbers. I just picked the name because it was such a powerful name, Avdiel, right?
Yeah.
And so in choosing the name Avdiel, I later found out that it has a numerical equivalence of 117, or 11/7, my birthday.
Yeah.
But then years later, I looked on the Hebrew calendar. If you go on HebrewCalendar.org, you can find out what your Hebrew birthday is if you type in the Gregorian birthday.
Yeah.
So I typed in November 7th, 1979, and they told me when you were born, it was on a Wednesday, but the Hebrew calendar was the year 5740, and it was the 17th of Cheshvan. So my mind blew. Why? Because I had already known that Noah's flood began on the 17th of Cheshvan.
Yes.
And so I go now to the Torah portion where that's being mentioned. And my mind is blown even more. Because in Bereshit, Genesis chapter 7, verse 11, is where it mentions Noah's flood.
Good.
Genesis 7:11, 11:7. My teacher told me, if we are passionate enough, if we are humble enough, when you open the Torah, you will see a map of your life.
Yes.
I bear witness to that. And I will also say, in landing, what my teacher told me about fellow Yehudim. You know who a Jew is, not by their zitziot, not by their fringes, not by how many times they tell you they wrap tefillin each day. You know a fellow Yehudim by their soul, by their spirit, by their undenying love for Hashem and his people, and a desire to see all of the world reach tikkun ha'olam.
Yeah.
My teacher said to me many, many years ago, how do we achieve tikkun ha'olam, the rectification of the world? That sounds impossible. How does one man help to repair the world?
Mm.
And I said, I raised my hand. He's asking the class a question. I said, well, I don't have the years of study as you, More, but is it possibly that tikkun ha'olam, the rectification, the repair of the world, can begin by me repairing myself? And that when we all begin to repair ourselves, we all play a role in tikkun ha'olam. Rav Berg speaks of a person that serves Hashem for the sake of serving him versus one that serves him just for a reward. He also speaks of someone that follows the decree and the will of Hashem, and then one that tricks and does things to get that. He calls it bread of shame. The desire to receive, but it comes with bread of shame. And he explains that bread of shame is when someone receives something without properly preparing and without properly performing it and without the necessary steps that it takes to earn that thing that they receive. So if you run a race and you win and you celebrate, but then your Abba says to you after the race, I poured alcohol in your opponent's drink, and that's why you won. That's bread of shame. Because now you cannot enjoy that reward of winning because you know you didn't earn it. Hashem, the Creator, gives us the ability, the insight to earn our reward. We call that Torah. Rabbi Pinhas, please close us out with a prayer or any powerful words that you would like to share.
יהי רצון מלפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ולאבותינו, שתיתן ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה רבנו אבידיאל ציון. תן לו עושר, תן לו חוכמה, תן לו להצליח בכל דרכיו, לעלות מעלה למעלה בסולם של החוכמה שלך, שהוא יהיה אור גדול בעולם, אור ליהודים, שהוא יכול לקבל כל הדברים שאתה תיקנת בשבילו, שנשמע רק בשורות טובות, בזכות כל המוסד שלו, שהוא מלמד תורה, שהוא מלמד מצוות, שהוא מלמד כל הגאות שאנחנו האפריקאים אמריקאים צריכים לעשות כדי להיות במעמד שלנו. תן לו שנהיה ביחד ונעלות ביחד עד המקום שאנו צריכים. בסייעתא דשמיא, אמן כן יהי רצון. But I say basically, I know you understood. I will keep it secret like this. The blessing will come down. I was personally very amazed by your level. I was not judgmental at all. I did not knew. But what I've seen today in many yeshiva that I put my legs where I went through, many are not at your level at all. And I will really say to all the people who study under you to believe that they have a real master. Because the way you receive us, the way you explain the Torah, the fire you bring through your explanation, it's like a stamp on the fact that you are a real one, a real sages. It will be my honor to share, to talk more about Learn Torah Hebrew Academy, because I'm sure that you have something very unique, but this is a private part that I cannot take in public. But I was amazed. I was amazed by the level you just showed to me. Not because of any underestimating, just because it's like someone who find a sage in the street and say, wow, I didn't expect that. So thank you for this moment. And I'm available for anything. Thank you for your support. And we will be supporting also from our corner. And I'm very open for any type of collaboration, any type of sharing, any type of help. And I can tell to your student, they can be proud because we have a real master.
Toda Rabbah. Toda Rabbah. I'm a man of many words, but also you in the presence of a great person, where the speaker becomes a listener, and where a person who's accustomed to being a teacher becomes a student. Thank you. And we look forward to many, many, many more open dialogues publicly, as well as the sweet, spicy dialogues behind the scenes. Baruch Hashem, thank you so much. All right. As everybody could see, signed, stamped, sealed, and delivered. This is why I've been saying for the longest now that when we change the volume of our energy, when we change the quality of our speech, we literally attract like-minded spirits. We literally attract like-minded people. And I want to tell you all that the more and more we strive to become a living embodiment of the Torah, then more and more we will attract people who have already become that. And in that sense, the malachim of Hashem are assembled, the messengers. Some translations may even say angels. The more and more we drop our ego to consider the contribution of your brother, it doesn't make me any less to see greatness in my brother. It doesn't make me any less to admit that I could possibly be looking wrong. It doesn't make me any less to admit that I could possibly learn more. When we adopt that view, we begin to clothe ourselves in the garments that the Creator has destined for us to put on. More than any other live stream that I've had since starting YouTube, today's live stream is the very most important for me. Because what this live stream essentially proves for our community is that we are indeed the missing link. Our diaspora is prophesied to return. There are people awakening in all parts of the world. Some have come to that awakening much earlier. Some are coming to that awakening now. Many more will be coming into that awakening tomorrow. But if you look around, observe, and consider, our people are quite literally the last. I read somewhere that the last shall be first, and the first shall be last. Abraham initially had two sons, Ishmael and Isaac. Isaac was last. Jacob has 12 sons. Before Benjamin was born, Joseph was carried away into Egypt and was chosen to be viceroy of that land. In the Medu Neter, in the hieroglyphic Egyptian Kemetic tongue, his title is to be called an Emir. Emir, second in command, viceroy. Emir is cognate with the Hebraic word Amir, Amar, a commander, a general. He was last. What I want to say to everyone as we close this live is, if we don't get it by now, we perhaps may never get it. But we are the missing link. We are that part of the chain that makes it such that the chain cannot unite unless it has this part. We are that piece of the puzzle that makes it such that the picture cannot be seen perfectly until our piece is added. We are the last, and the last shall be made to be first, and the first shall be made to be last. On that note, I hope you guys enjoyed. This live stream will forever be memorialized by me, and I'm sure by many of you. And in the words of one of my teachers, Prince Sapor Ben Zevulun, Chief Prince Sapor, Hanasi Sapor Ben Zevulun of Shema Israel, we are the missing link. And in his words, the Creator is awakening the lion that has been sleeping for a long time. And that lion is the Lion of Judah, the conquering Lion of Judah. And like a sleeping lion, the world had nothing to fear once we were asleep. But the Creator, by his grace, by his mercy, by his love, is today awakening that sleeping lion. And the world is beginning to feel and be gripped with the fear of the awakening of that sleeping lion. And in the words of Hanasi Sapor Ben Zevulun, ready or not, here we come.
All right. It's your brother Zion Lexx. Sign up for our online academy, which is Learn Torah Hebrew Academy at patreon.com/Learn Torah. There are several classes that we offer. We offer a Biblical Hebrew 101 class for beginners. We have a Biblical Hebrew 102 class for people who are a little bit more advanced. We also have a weekly Torah class. We also have our Patriarchs of the Covenant course, our Matriarchs of the Covenant course, and a bi-weekly rabbinical course. All of these courses can be found on Patreon. Again, that's patreon.com/Learn Torah. You guys were definitely in for it. It's a very invasive class. All of our classes are deeply invasive and very, very meticulous to the T when it comes to understanding the culture, the heritage, and the history of our ancient ancestors. So sign up for Biblical Hebrew at patreon.com/Learn Torah. I am your brother, Zion Lexx.
I want to say this. We have to support each other. We have to support Black businesses. I must say, when it comes to biblical Hebrew and you want to study it, my brother Zion Lexx has classes. He doesn't only teach biblical Hebrew, he teaches Medunecher. Please, you want to learn? Absolutely. Go to him. Let him teach you what he has mastered. It's beautiful to watch him display it.